This looks interesting. What you working on, James?
Getting back into whipping these bounties into shape so they're ready to put on mainnet.
Awesome.
I spent a little time updating some of them, and it's exciting to be at the stage where it feels like one of the most urgent things to do is to get the language on these right. And one of the things I had in mind to bring to everybody today was just some looking at these together and working together to define what the bounties should be in the first place, because I know a bunch of people here have been working on stuff. And we have a slightly updated version of the Plutus V2 version of this DApp. With, I think last week we talked a little bit about the treasury issuer tokens. That part's working. And I just implemented a really elegant and simple way to not allow contributors to change the treasury datum. So I thought we might take a look at that as well. Yeah, a couple of different ways to look at this. How y'all doing? So there's a lot of big picture stuff to look at. I dropped into Discord just the very simple agenda for today. Always want to keep starting with the course Q&A, and want to protect that as how we start. Nobody who's brand new to the course is here today. Everybody here has made a certain amount of progress on their own. But if there's anything you guys have in mind about the course, I want to start with that. And then just here, if as we move into this conversation about bounties, if anybody wants to share something you've been working on, something you've been inspired to be checking out, we could talk about that. And then, like I said, I have a few different ways we can look at this DApp project that we're all aware of. Sarah, glad you're here. Hey, Hugo, it's good to have you here today. Nelson, Trevor, Curtis, hey guys. So first and foremost, anybody have questions about what you're working on in the course right now?
Hey, James.
Hey,
So the serialization problem, it's what I'm facing is that once I take out from tokens from the faucet, then I cannot go through with the next transaction. That is to do with the serialization problem that's happening now, right?
I noticed that too, and that actually jogs my memory. I think that problem deserves our attention right now. I think what it has to do is the re-implementation in the front end, for some reason, is not handling multiple eternal addresses. But I haven't, I kind of noticed that problem while I was moving fast through something else and forgot to revisit it. So thank you for that reminder. But I remember when it happened, I was like, shoot, something must be going on in the front end, because that shouldn't be happening. But I experienced the same. Should we take a quick look at that?
Yeah, I would like to.
Let me see if I can recreate that problem first. Let's move this to here. And I'm going to move into the PBL front end. Oops. Now, this might not be the greatest place for me to check because in my eternal wallet, oops, I probably have. This might be a mainnet wallet at the moment. Let me just go in here. And fix this. Pre-prod. Let's try that. Okay. It may be hard for me to create this problem because right now I got 98 PPBL access tokens. Actually, let me look instead in my NAMI. On pre-prod. It's still got the 98. What about this one? All right, here's what I'm going to do. I have a NAMI wallet right over here. I'm going to send to it just one PPBL access token. And this is easy because of the front end template. So whenever I get requests these days for an access token, I'm able just to use the dApp that we've already got right here and quick send that along. Okay, so that'll come through in just a minute. And then there it is. There's our access token. Got a little ADA. Let me just send a little more ADA here because I'm not going to have enough for collateral either. I should have done that. So just there. All right. So as this loads up, now I've got my one access token. Once I have some more ADA here, which now I do, just set collateral. Okay. And then let's go into the faucet project. Pick the most recent one here. Oh, is that loaded into the front? Oh, let me try this one instead. I thought I loaded that one. UTXO balance insufficient. Let me here, quick fix for that. I'm just going to send a little bit more. Well, actually, no, that is the error. That is the error, right? Yeah, that is the error. Okay. So if I look at, now I'm in the, but you see, I'm getting that error from NAMI. That shouldn't happen.
Oh, it's happening with my NAMI too.
Oh, why is it happening with NAMI? Okay, that's a little bit more confusing. Okay, interesting.
Can you show the error message again? I'm sorry, I totally missed it.
Yeah, it says an error occurred during build, UTXO balance insufficient. So let's troubleshoot this. Yeah, this is
So
great.
I thought that was me. I've actually been getting that since the first time we launched the faucet. My first transaction was successful, and then everything since then has been give me the same error. And that's been the entire time. And I thought it was just me, so I kept trying to troubleshoot it locally.
I'm sorry about that. Yeah, let's fix it. This is great. This is absolutely necessary. Okay, let me move things around. Let's open up the code for this. Put it over here. This. And we'll come back to this stuff. Front end template.
I thought it was just me because nobody else had really complained about it until now. So I thought, well,
I
it
haven't
must just
seen
be
this
me.
until now. This is a bit of a surprise. Yeah, this is great.
Well, I know Yuli, she was, working, she created her own. A bunch of other people were able to create their own token and they tested it and it was successful. I guess maybe we all just stopped after that first try and they never saw it.
I used this last week is the thing. So there's, yeah, this is not a never thing. I even used this T Windsor one that's at the top of the list. I was surprised to see that. So first, let me just check that indeed there are these 3 Plutus scripts here. Cardano, Plutus, faucet list. Oh, there's only those 2. I must have done that on another machine and not pushed those changes. So do I have?
I think you have posted. I just pulled the repo now and I got the other.
Oh, there they are. Yeah. Okay. I was doing that on the laptop. Okay. I see. All right. And there's always the possibility that maybe this has something to do with a mesh update. So we'll want to check that as well. But at least now that I have all 3 of these, I would expect the same error on that T Windsor one. So just to confirm that, I'm going to reload this page, connect again, try this one, and good, same error. That's what we want. And Nelson, you can confirm that you've seen this work maybe once, but then not again.
Yeah, like what I do is I send the access token to another wallet and I can withdraw in the first transaction. So like the access token goes through the contract, it comes back with some token, right? And then using that wallet, I cannot do the transaction again. So it gives me this error that time.
All right. I have a few, well, there's a few things we're going to want to look at here. It is likely enough that there's something going on here with some new features of mesh, but this is pretty up to date. I want to check this part right here. So let's just double check, first of all, the assets we're trying to send. Assets to sender, access token to sender. We have some faucet asset that we pull in from the metadata, and we're seeing that appear correctly. So faucet asset is appearing correctly. Withdrawal amount as a string ought to be appropriate. And this access token, just to double confirm here, in the project, in the course, at compile time, we say that this is the symbol ending in 2C60. And then it's 5050424C. That's PPBL. 23 is a capital A, etc. So that's right. That's the right symbol. And I could confirm that in the browser as well.
So I was wondering if right, every UTXO, even native assets have to have a certain amount of Lovelace in it. So I was kind of going down the path thinking, well, the UTXO that's at the script address has to have a certain amount of Lovelace plus the tokens. And when we withdraw it, that script address or that UTXO needs to share some of its Lovelace, right, to the recipient as well, because there needs to be UTXO there. And then when it returns back the remaining native asset, to the script address, is there enough Lovelace at the script address to withdraw again? But if that was the case, wouldn't others be getting this error?
Right. So I'm going to answer that question in two parts. First of all, there's no Plutus validation that says anything about Lovelace, okay, which we don't expect there to be, but just so we can check that off as a reason this is happening, right? This contract is only looking at the number of faucet tokens. What Mesh does under the hood when we use this pattern right here, right, where we don't include Lovelace in the list of assets, Mesh takes care of those, whatever min UTXOs are necessary. So actually, well, and right, it's not even getting to the point of giving us a transaction preview so that we can look at that together. Okay.
Okay, so mesh is going to just give enough. You're saying it's like, it's gonna calculate how much Lovelace needs to be in the UTXO to the recipient. And then all the rest will go back to the script address. Okay,
That's the idea, yeah. There were some bugs. Let's upgrade mesh just to double check if that's the problem.
I mean, we could also query the script address, right? And see what's in the UTXO, see how many Lovelace live.
Yeah, totally. And so let's do that too. So I believe this front end is doing that part correctly, but let's double check. So here we have a contract address. Let's take this and put it in a Cardano scan. And you see here's this min UTXO right here. And there are 96,000 of this token, which, that is wrong. Look at that. Okay, this could be.
I just pulled 1,000 now.
Oh, you did? Oh, you got it to work by the way you were saying. You moved the token and you were able to do it.
Yes.
Okay, so if I whoops, let me start the server again. Refresh this page. Okay, so that looks good now. Well, so all I did so far is upgraded mesh. But let's just try this just to see. Nope, same error. Okay. So what is it looking for where that's going to be insufficient? The next thing I'm going to do is I just want to check off the easy possibilities first. Yeah, Justin.
Hey, I was testing a contract in the front end building mesh, and I think I was having this same error where my contract sends tokens back to the user after they make, so the user has a wallet just full of ADA to start. And any tokens are unrecognizable by the contract. And then after they make a transaction, the contract sends them tokens from the contract that, and the contract logic itself validates the tokens coming and going. But I think, yeah, I've had the same problem where you try to make a similar transaction from the same wallet. And I think Mesh Lake, I think it picks UTXOs from your wallet that that pertain to the tokens you're trying to unlock from the faucet. And I think there's some something going wrong there, because like Nelson said, if you send the tokens out of that wallet and then you retry, and it turns out to work. So yeah, I'm not sure if that's what's going on here or not.
Yeah, there's something wrong with the coin selection.
Yeah, that's what I was going to mention.
This is the case, right? So here's the first thing I'm going to do is, without sending more access tokens, because I can see that here, and the policy ID is what I expect it to be. All I'm going to do first is just send some more ADA to this wallet.
Yeah, that's a good point. So is Mesh trying to use a UTXO that has no native assets to pay for the transaction fee? And it can't find it because the only UTXO in that wallet has the native asset?
Right, that could be. I'm not sure. We'd have to look a little deeper to find out what the case was, like why this is happening, and maybe we can make some progress on that. But I want to confirm that that's even potential. Like, I'm very curious to see, once I have 20 more ADA in obviously a new UTXO in this wallet, I wonder what will happen next. And then why it's happening, yeah, is an interesting question.
I have noticed Nami seems to be the slowest to update. Is it using Block Frost as its like back end?
I believe so.
Okay.
So I've got, there we go. That transaction came through. So the next thing I want to do is just try this again. Still insufficient. So why? Why would that be? That's interesting.
And remind me, when you use Mesh, are you selecting an option for coin selection, or is it just by default using their
Excellent.
own built coin?
There are, I gotta look again. I think there are a couple of options kind of buried in the project where you can actually configure the coin selection algorithm, but I'm not sure. I would have to double check on that. But yeah, I know that Jingles is really interested in giving people a little bit more control over that. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is try this in Eternal, just to confirm whether or not how the extent of this problem. So this wallet over here, I have a lot of access tokens. Let's just see what error we get here. Oh, no collateral in this wallet. All right, let's do that. That's it. Okay. That's going to need a minute to go through. I'm reloading each time just to avoid like some cache issues that happen when I'm in dev mode. It's probably not always necessary. All right, let's see what happens now. All right, so this one loads up. Let's see what the transaction says. So input from the contract has that minimal UTXO and these Windsor tokens. Here's the UTXO from my wallet. It's coming from this address, F67N. It's going out to the address associated with the index 0. So Kyle showed us index 0 on these HD wallets. And that's going to be the first one in the list, and goes, here's this minimum going back. Same min UTXO mesh is calculating that for us.
But that's not enough. Where's the change address? I assume it's going back to the script address.
Oh, okay. No, the script address is not being used as the change address. And the way we handle change address when we use Cardano CLI is a bit different from how both Mesh and Eternal would expose to us the change address right here. So yeah, you can see these are the 4 outputs, right? This one is what's encoded via Mesh into the project. Send that faucet token. There's also this asset UTXO back to the sender with the access token. Here's the UTXO back to the contract. And then what you could think of as change is this one right here, which, as you can see, holds the additional access tokens as well. Cardano CLI doesn't give it to us like this.
Okay, I mean, I was kind of thinking it's returning 1.31 test data back to the script address, which, I mean, you could probably withdraw one more time, but then that's it, right?
Oh, okay.
That's what I
This
mean.
is a critical point. Yeah, I hear what you're saying, and you have to shift your thinking a little bit about this. This contract and the front end to go with it have nothing to say about the ADA in the contract address. And so all that's required is a min UTXO. So this right here, here's the ADA before this transaction. Here's the ADA after this transaction at the contract address. It's exactly the same because both of these numbers are coming from a mesh calculation for meeting that min UTXO. And that calculation is derived from the serialization library. That's why you can see that there's a slightly different value calculated here and here. I don't know why this one is different from this one, for example, but this is a valid transaction. Min UTXOs are met, and in the code in the front end template, we're not saying anything about what the ADA needs to be outgoing to any of these addresses. All we're saying is, hey, build one output that has these faucet tokens, build another output that has one access token, build another output back to the contract address that has these, and just take care of the ADA part for me. And this is a really interesting way to start thinking about ADA as utility in a smart contract like this, right? We don't even have to think about what's there. Now, if I did put 200 right here in the contract, it would be exposed. And somebody who knew what they were doing would be able to drain that extra right there. How much sense does that make?
I see. So it's really just maintaining the ADA that lives in the script address. Okay.
Yeah.
But James, what is the reason that we don't want to control that ADA? Like here 1.16, that another one 1.31. Why not control? Right.
So you could, right? I think I would change the question to when is a case where you do want to control this ADA?
Yeah.
And the way to do that in the Plutus code itself is straightforward. And of course, you can build a front end that satisfies your Plutus logic or expresses a different way to think about, via the front end, how much ADA you want living at that contract address, for example. But moving forward, a lot of dApps might not have any concern about the flow of ADA. It's going to be about the flow of tokens. Think about a video game that's going to have, NFT assets. The player of that game is not there to even think about ADA. So it's in terms of the user experience, the best possible thing is just to meet the min requirement, right? To use this system, yeah, you need to satisfy the min UTXO. But in terms of the functionality of the DApp, it's better to never have to think about that. And so that's what this is giving us the ability to do.
But in terms of computation between those DApp and creating more optimized or better user experience or better smart contract, if a user noticed that he's paying less ADA to use the same DApp, like same swap or text or whatever, sure, right now ADA doesn't worth that much, but this is 50 cents or something. But in future, let's say it's $10 or something, doesn't that make sense to reduce it, or making concern about reducing that ADA to like advertise or DApp that this is most optimized kind of DApp that you can find out there?
So one way you would do that is by reducing transaction fees, for example, right? And actually that's the only claim that we would make here, because think about to use this DApp, what do I have to spend ADA on? Well, I'm not spending anything to the contract. The contract came in with this much ADA and it came out with that much ADA. So there's no zero cost there for me to be thinking about. Yes, there's a min UTXO here and here to go with the tokens I'm either getting for the first time or getting back, but that's still going to be my ADA at the end of the day in those UTXOs. And so what does that leave for us to think about in terms of cost? It leaves the transaction fee. And this is a Plutus V1 transaction, so still a relatively high one. We could change it to V2, we could lower that. But yeah, I think the way, Mix, like you're saying, to minimize those perceived costs is to allow the protocol or the serialization library to come up with these values for us and to never, ideally never change the amount that's in the contract address.
Yeah. But I was thinking, sure, that the transaction cost, yeah, that's possible to make it. But I was thinking if you as a user see that this smart contract or doing same thing, like just getting a token and send it back to my account, use less ADA. Like now is 1.3. Another DApp by doing some magic is using less than 1 ADA.
Right.
Does that make sense to do that, like working on that, making better in your smart contract or doing something, or no, it doesn't matter? Like for the user, if 100 ADA goes and come back, or it is less than 1 ADA, it doesn't matter that much. I mean, yeah, there is no cost.
Would we optimize? Yeah, I mean, if this amount was 0.9 instead of 1.3 right here and right here, which obviously right now it can't be, but if it could, you did that magic, would that lower the transaction fee by a little bit? I don't know.
No, let's say the transaction fee even is constant.
Right.
I'm just saying, in perspective of a user, normal user, does this makes better looking or no? It doesn't matter that much. I'm just asking.
I mean,
like if it is 2 ADA coming and going,
does
the transaction cost
does the user perceive a difference?
Yeah. Does that makes better? I mean, better looking at least, or no?
Are you talking about in terms of just having a nice round number right there? Or
no, as much as possible.
Yeah. I mean, if this is a protocol, if this is derived deterministically from protocol parameters, then it's kind of a moot point. If this number is slightly higher than it needs to be, like, could it be 1.11 instead of 1.31?
Yeah.
Maybe. how much work would it take to do that? To save 0.2 ADA, who's doing the work, and where is that coming from in the first place? For this contract to be instantiated, the builder of the contract had to use this much ADA. I mean, so I think all we're talking about here is a perception, and most people are not gonna look closely at what's here. They're gonna say, how much am I paying in fees? And this has no impact on that.
Exactly. So it doesn't matter. It is 5 ADA, 10 ADA. Just they
There
don't
is-
pay that. It's fine. Doesn't
There
matter.
is a slight difference when you get to 10 ADA or more. Because when you get to 10, you're adding a digit, which is a byte, and that does increase your transaction size, but very, very minimally. I don't think you would even, you wouldn't
Okay.
even notice it.
What about less than like 5 ADA? 5 ADA comes, 5 ADA goes, no one's pay anything, the transaction is same. But instead of 1.3 something, it's just constant 5 ADA. Does this matter? I mean, this is my personal, or no, it doesn't matter. So we don't need to control it. We don't need to put extra effort to make it, I don't know, good, look good.
Anybody have thoughts on that?
Imagine you guys are using a DEX, and that DEX, the transaction fee is constant, no matter it is 1.3 something or it is 5 ADA. As Curtis say, it is if it is less than 10, that cost is same. So imagine a DEX gets 5 ADA from you and send back to you 5 ADA, or another DEX use 1.3 something and 1.3 something again, sending back to you. And let's say the worth of the ADA is $10 or something. It's not just worthless or I don't know, something right now. Does this matter? Does this look good to you?
So maybe I missed the part. If 1.31 ADA is what's in the smart contract, you're saying that the person who wants to withdraw from that has to have a UTXO that contains 1.31, or in your case 5. So if it was 5 ADA in the contract, you're saying that the user has to have a UTXO with 5 ADA.
5 ADA. If he
No,
doesn't
false.
have,
No, hold on,
he
pause right there. That's
cannot use it.
wrong. That's simply not true. Whatever amount it is, look, if that amount is coming in from the contract and the same amount is going out, that has nothing to do with the user adding anything, needing to have anything. So
but in this
if
case,
this was a 5 and this was a 5, it would be the same.
yeah, but for the script, yeah, but what about for a user?
You're talking about the user's perception of, hey, I'm walking into a store and the store has a $5 bill on the wall. That $5 bill is going to be there when I walk in, and it's going to be there when I walk out.
Exactly.
Do I have a different perception of the store that has a $5 bill on the wall versus the store that has a $20 bill or a $1 bill on the wall?
Does it, James? Or no?
If it does, there's about 73 things that matter more than that right now, I think. Like like maybe that makes a negligible difference in the psyche of the person who's looking deep under the hood. Is that really, I'm not sure that's a really important thing for us to wonder about right now.
Actually, because this was a case in our project in Orkival that we are thinking about a minimum value.
So maybe it will make, okay, so if it makes a difference,
yeah.
I guess we need a framework for assessing how much of a difference that makes to people. And this is a great focus group question.
For example, if someone wants to create an order in our platform, he has to have at least minimum 5 ADA. Although that 5 ADA will come back to himself.
That's different. Yeah, that's different. Yeah. Okay, fine. What the user has to have in their wallet is a minimum of this much ADA and this much ADA so that they can get these 2 UTXOs, but all of it's coming back to them. they have to be able to pay the fee. And then if they have multiple access tokens, for example, they would need a min UTXO for that, but that's usually going to be handled by change. So from the user end, this number and this number are going to be more impactful than this number right here. This is my dollar bill on the wall of my shop. These are the amounts that you're going to say, hey, in order to use this DApp, you need a minimum of this, and you need one of these access tokens. Without that, you can't use this DApp. And I guess, right, so right now, what is that number? It's 3.4 almost.
Yeah.
Right, so yeah, that's gonna feel like something, especially if ADA appreciates in value, to even be holding that much so that I can interact is going to feel different ways to different people. So that's really important to recognize. And we should be out front of thinking about how we show that to people, right? This is the difference between Web3 and Web2 is, yeah, we're going to pay a little more for network fees, but what do we get in return? What has been the alternative to that? Justin, what do you think?
I was wondering if it might be better from the user's wallet experience to combine the send assets functions in the mesh transaction so that the access token goes and sits on the same UTXO as the tokens they just withdrew, so they don't have to lock up two separate UTXOs. I'm not sure it's, I'm not sure it's a huge deal, but then it might look better in their wallet, or they might see less ADA locked by tokens, and I don't know.
You're absolutely right about that. And that's actually a very conscious design decision that everybody should think about. And I encourage people, right? So the trade-off is, Justin, what you're saying, I could combine these Windsor tokens and this access token. The min UTXO would be slightly higher than this, but it would still be substantially less than the sum of these two min UTXOs right here. So that'd be great. The thing is, then from a user perspective, what's more likely is additional min UTXO problems later when it comes to later coin selection, because think about what happens. We combine these. Now they're in the same UTXO. I try to use my access token again. These at that stage are going to be put into an additional UTXO anyway. And so at that stage, I might just find that I'm unable to do the next thing, the next interaction with this token. And from a design perspective, this is interesting, right? This approach confronts the user with that issue front and center, and it won't even let them start, maybe while silently helping their future self out. Whereas the other approach, it might look nicer in the short term, but then later on, the user's wallet is going to run into mistakes, and they're unlikely to know it's our fault, right? So maybe kicking the can is a good approach, but it's kind of interesting, right? That we can give them that short-term satisfaction, but later kind of leave them out to dry.
That's a good point. I guess you could also, instead of the send assets, send value, and then I don't know, maybe specify the amount of ADA you want. Like you could do like, I don't know, 2.5 ADA instead of just the min UTXO for that one sent back to cover them for those next. Yeah, it's kind of something I didn't think would be. I thought, getting the first one to work would, be the cake, but there's a lot of other considerations, I guess.
And right, people might never recognize the favor we're doing, like helping them manage their UTXOs better by doing it like this. But that's a design decision we all have to make. And And what you just added, like that's a critical point too. There's no right answer to this. Potentially building ADA management into our applications, there are going to be cases where that is absolutely the best choice. And what the protocol and the serialization library offer us is the ability to think less and less about ADA as we move forward. And every design is going to come down on a different side of that question, but I think we all have to be thinking about it.
But James, the Eternal have the option to enable advanced UTXO management, which at the end result is breaking down all big UTXO into a small UTXO. So the concurrency or parallelism, all of these features can be possible.
That's
So
right. Oh yeah, that I mean that's
that's
why
a design, the pattern or a strategy too. So if you want to have big UTXO, you cannot have concurrency. That's a problem maybe the UTXO blockchain. Yeah, we need to think about that too.
Well, the fact that Eternal has that is why I personally, I'm never going to make a decision to include user-facing ADA management in a DApp like this. Could other people? Absolutely. I don't think it's necessary, Mix, because of what you just said. No, if a user wants to manage their UTXOs and their lovelace, that's not on me as the DApp builder over here. But I can, maybe I can add a message to my DApp that says, you know, here you can manage, you know, here's how to manage your UTXOs in Eternal or something like that.
But let me add this, that if a user, I mean, the user that which they enable this, they are having problem right now with connecting with some of the dApps, or if they want to be in token cell, or I don't know, minting something, because of that management and so many UTXO, you are likely to have more time to connect your wallet to that dApp, so you can lose opportunity. I've seen that in some of the metaverse or other dApp, that user lost that plot or lost that position because of that option. And that option means that a lot of UTXO in our dApp creates a longer or delay to find that correct UTXO. So this trading between, I don't know. I mean, maybe in future it doesn't matter when everything gets much advanced and much faster and optimized, but right now. So I didn't enable that.
I actually had to do exactly what you just said, Mix, because I was trying to mint on Cornucopias, and that exact same thing happened. During the mint, where it was coin selection just took too long and I missed out. So I did disable advanced UTXO management, and then I sent, everything I had in my wallet back to myself. So it was all a single UTXO.
Exactly.
And it was so much quicker. But I will state that by default, that feature is disabled. So, I would venture to say majority of the users out there don't have that feature enabled. So we can't necessarily rely on it. I raised my hand before you addressed the question, and I agree, James. It's a coin selection issue where you can combine those assets into a single UTXO to try to reduce that fee, but as James said, it presents issues later when you're trying to react with it again. In Snapbrillia, we do avoid this, just like Justin said, with by increasing the ADA amount. So we do use about 2.5 ADA, combine those assets into a single UTXO, and we're giving it 2.5 ADA so that later when they split those UTXOs, there's enough Lovelace to cover both of them. However, that's actually above the minimum, right? We're giving it a cushion. So in fact, it takes more ADA than if you just do it the way it is now. So you can think of that ahead of time, but you should also include a bit of a cushion just in case. And that cushion means you're in a sense spending more ADA than you would have if they were just split UTXOs.
Right. Right.
Yeah, I like the term of cushion, soft UTXO. We will-
Well, okay, now, public service announcement, though. All right, if it's in your design to allow for the future splitting of UTXOs at a contract address, that's absolutely a great reason to add a cushion initially and to have a plan for how and when UTXOs are going to be split. But if you are including more than the min UTXO at your contract address, you need to have guards in both your Plutus code and or in the front end that protect that cushion from being spent by someone who knows what they're doing. If, for example, there happened to be 5 ADA right here, then the way the contract is written right now, anybody with this access token could notice that. They could go to Cardano CLI and build a transaction that satisfies the contract and pulls out the appropriate number of Windsors. And they could just take that cushion and claim it as their own. If I wanted to add that ability, I would want to, in my Plutus code, specify what that amount is that provides that cushion, and have a guard in my validator that says there should always be 5 million Lovelace output to the contract address. Does that caveat make sense to everybody?
And that's exactly what we're doing at Snap Brilliant. And I think it is 5 million Lovelace too.
Sure, yeah. It's a nice round number.
Yeah, we need to protect our cushion, our user cushion, and telling them we want you to do soft landing and soft experience.
This is life advice from Plutus PBL. Say, protect your cushions.
Well,
Oh,
what
good
happens when
dear.
my dog eats all my cushions?
Yeah. So we'll steal the dog cushion and use it so the dog will learn.
Well, if you could make a dog bot that goes around looking at all contracts that are open, there's probably a couple thousand ADA out there on mainnet that are susceptible to this concept. You probably track them down if you have some ingenuity. Nelson, what do you think?
Just I want to be sure about why we are taking this design decision. So this provides more security, so that when we want to use the access token later on, it doesn't go through with the additional other tokens. Is it that way?
Yeah, that's this part right here. And it was the way Justin suggested at first. And then I kept getting frustrated because I kept writing little dApps where these were combined. And when I wanted to interact with it quickly later from, for example, the CLI, I had to, if I wanted this TX in, but these were in it, I would have to just account for these and another TX out later on. So this is a forward-looking design decision that has less to do with security at the contract level and more to do with future convenience.
Okay. So the one thing I want to know for that point is that is IOHK anyway working to allow the change address to address the additional token thing? So is there any CIP or roadmap on allowing change address handle the additional tokens?
Yeah. Is anybody aware of that?
I didn't hear it. I'm sorry.
So my question was, now the change address, when we use Cardano CLI and make transactions, we know that we cannot, we have to account for the additional tokens manually. The change address doesn't take care of the input tokens that doesn't go out to any specific TX out. So there in the roadmap or CIP that asks for the change address to be accounted for that additional tokens?
I'm not
I
aware of
think
anything. I heard that it was in the works, but I'm not up to date on it. Sorry, Max.
what can we do this logic inside the Plutus so that Plutus doesn't allow this happen? The Plutus inside the smart contract, we can find out that there is output that's coming back to change address is mostly the same contract or so if there is a token, we can raise a false or something, I mean the error.
So we don't know what the user input UTXO holds, right? Like it might hold any other tokens that the user might have.
We can know because when they are putting their in UTXO and we inside the script context, we can know what they have, what their assets are. Do they have this token number, this token number, the number of the token, or they have the token name, the currency symbol, everything are accessible inside a script context in regards of the tokens. So even if you have some strict inputs, like the input must have this amount of token with this currency symbol and with this token name, which you can get it not as a contract parameter, but a datum or redeemer or something. So you don't need to be hard coded inside the contract. And then that condition or that function and that logic can validate that those inputs have this token or not. If they don't, okay, that's rise and error. If doesn't, so you can check that inside your contract in a script context because that's come inside the transaction body, which is a script context. So on.
Yeah, and I also heard, was it Plutarch? I want to say it was Plutarch, and they were working with IOHK to try to integrate the optimizations that they've implemented. And I also heard that they're working on change address supporting native assets, non-Lovelace native assets. But I don't know where they're at with that either.
That's ongoing work of the Babel fees. Actually, the guys who are working on Babel fees are the people who are working on the there are M labs. They are associated with M lab, which the guys are behind Plutarch. So those guys are working with Babel fee and the SEEP and everything with that. This is to my knowledge. Maybe they will add that. So the Cardano Foundation is giving out this work to other, like DCS Spark is working other kind of protocol like Mamba, and MLab, as I heard, is working for Babel fee, which underlines Plutarch, of course.
That makes sense. Yeah. Thank you.
By the way, I don't know, have you guys checked that inside the Cardano CLI, you can, before creating a transaction, you can find out that how much minimum UTXO you want. So by using that, we can maybe even in backend, we can somehow estimate how much min UTXO we can, and you can actually find approximately how much byte or how much execution step cost right now, or like in datum or redeemer or whatever, or even your UTXO, how much bigger it is. So it's interesting. I think these are new switches.
I'd like to look at that too. But I'm still, so before looking at the next thing, I would love to resolve why would NAMI not work with this transaction here? And one thing I'm trying to think about. This is my NAMI wallet address right here. it has the this is the access token, right? Just to confirm that. Yeah, that's the access token. It has the access token. It has a sufficient collateral UTXO and two more UTXOs, each that have plenty of ADA in them. And then it has this one right here, which has a min UTXO to hold this token. So in the faucet transaction we're trying to build, well, there's no change address specified. We're sending assets, sending assets, sending assets. And we need collateral. Could it be that adding one more UTXO would be sufficient? I'm grasping at straws a little bit. I'm really not sure why this wouldn't work. But one thing, again, I want to try next would be, I'm just going to send one more UTXO to my NAMI wallet and see if maybe it could have anything to do with the number of UTXOs there. And then we'd be able to say, well, for some reason, what was there wasn't enough, but maybe we can get to the point where this is sufficient and then troubleshoot from there. I'm just going to send 5 more. And obviously we'll wait for that to come for a moment. As you can see, when I had plenty of ADA, well, I mean, what's my UTXO look like here? We currently have these UTXOs, possible collateral. So yeah, I mean, it worked with this much, and I have many access tokens. Question is, what about on NAMI? Yeah, I'm pretty sure, hey, Juan, I'm pretty sure this doesn't have too much to do with the respin at this point. This is the respun app that was working. And now we see that for some reason, it's not quite. Good to figure out why. So I just sent 5 more ADA here. They have arrived a minute ago. Let's try one more time. Yeah, still not. Okay. The UTXO balance is insufficient.
James, what if it's just trying to grab that one UTXO with 2 in it and it's not enough to pay the fee and hold the,
I wonder. Yeah.
so if you
saying,
just
"Give me that
consolidate it all into
UTXO."
one bigger one?
I'm curious. That was a good question. Yeah, maybe it's saying, all right, give me this one. What would happen? Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to send to myself in NAMI. Send to self 20 ADA and the access token. Okay. And I'm going to wait to be able to see that on the command line for just a moment. And this would make sense. If this works and then doesn't, that would logically fit with the behavior Nelson originally described. Hey, it works the first time, but why doesn't it work again? It's because mesh is giving us this min UTXO on the output, and then it doesn't work after that. Let's see if that could be the case.
So mesh needs to implement caution inside their code.
Or we do, right? And this is where I have, yeah, they do, they absolutely do. And there's ways we could probably fix that. Okay, so there it is. Now we've got 20 ADA and our access token. Let's go back to this view here. I'm feeling actually pretty confident this is going to work right now. I'll be really surprised if this doesn't. Let's see. Oh, come on. Well, so what is it? What is it? Why is that? Okay, well now, okay, so now it's time to go deeper. We got to look at. We got to look, I just want to log some of these values at this point and see what's happening. Let's get rid of these logs. And let's log. To sender. Message to sender. And then. Contract. And. Okay, so to the sender. I want to see what's in there. Why can't I? Have you ever seen that before? What's going on here? That's weird. I can't see those objects. Well, come on. Do I have to say okay here first? Ah, that's why. 505042-4C.
I'm wondering if it's worth looking at the coin selection that Mesh is using to see if it's just grabbing the first UTXO available, which contains the token. No, that wouldn't make sense either.
Do you mean that they do not care about, I mean, the first UTXO that has that token, they will grab it. Doesn't matter what UTXO is the size. So it's kind of, we have to get rid of any UTXO can be similar to each other. So that coin selection will find the UTXO we want. Do you mean that?
Well, no, because it sounds like sending that token to another wallet works, which maybe is combining, right, a UTXO that contains ADA and that, which increases the amount of ADA in the UTXO of the summer. Like, is it trying to use that access token to pay for the fees? The access token UTXO, sorry, to pay for the fees? And if so, then maybe it's run out of ADA within that UTXO.
But can we change that? Like, can we tell that to use which UTXO for the fee or whatever? I think we can do that, right? Or no, the coin selection will select which UTXO is going to be as a fee or whatever.
I mean, it sounds like a coin selection. I mean, if that is the case, I think you can configure coin selection to, hey, I need additional ADA. You know, I found my UTXO, but maybe I need additional. I would still feel like that's a coin selection thing.
But James, can we create a condition that if there is a UTXO less than 2 ADA, for example, mesh cannot use that for whatever, for the transaction or something. So we can avoid that coin selection will try to use a UTXO less than 2 ADA.
That's what I want to try next. What I'm wondering is now, and if this happens, then why would be the next question. But I'm wondering if this problem will still happen if in these arrays of assets, we just add some specified amount of Lovelace. I wonder if that'll make a difference. So I'm going to do that. And then if it does make a difference, then the next job is to figure out why it makes a difference. Let's go like this. And I'm going to start by only doing this in the assets to the sender, because what I'm wondering is whether in some way is mesh looking at these expected outputs, not seeing Lovelace, and that therefore making something happen. I don't know. Right, you're able to do this, right? Instead of a asset ID like this one, you're allowed to just write Lovelace like this.
Yeah.
And then for quantities, let's just go with 2 ADA for now, just to see. And this is all going back to the user. So no contract problems. All right, I'm going to reload that. And let's just find out if that changes anything. Doesn't. Okay. Okay, so we cross that off the list. We just queried the connected address. We saw that this connected address has these UTXOs in it. But for some reason, this is insufficient.
James, using different wallet has any benefits or effect on mesh or no? About
Well,
especially coin selection.
Well, okay, good. Nami, yes. Different wallets have different coin selection algorithms implemented. Yes.
But mesh has also coin selection. So how these two coin selection works together? Sure,
Which
that's a
one is
Cardano
using-
standard.
Yeah. The browser wallet is defining the coin selection algorithm in this case.
I see.
Yeah, mesh exposes abilities to customize that, and that's going to be more of an app wallet use case.
Mhm. Can we check how many of those tokens is trying to pull? Because if there is insufficient funds, it couldn't be that token itself. Because I see you have one. I assume it's only one which is being taken and sent, but just in case. How many
So
of those?
we're redeeming value from the contract.
Yes, that number of other tokens, yeah.
Right, and the contract, we're taking index 0 because there's only one contract.
For each UTX, yeah.
We're redeeming. Oh, you know what? Let me check the docs for redeem value just to make sure this is all correct. I think all of my errors here are just Haskell stuff. Do I have any problems exposed in the front end? No, so there's nothing TypeScript is picking up. But let's look at redeem value for just a second.
It's one quantity, yeah.
Value, script, datum, and optionally redeemer would go down there. Yeah. So the other way to look at this is in our types, if I mouse over redeem value. Yeah. And script is of this type. We've got a redeemer, we've got a datum. Datum is defined up above simply as a number. Yeah, we would get a different error if that was the problem. Yeah, this is unlocking successfully. And we're saying send to the connected address.
Mhm.
These sender.
One access token.
I mean, and right, and all, again, we just showed like this transaction worked in eternal when I had many tokens. And so it may be the case that there's something Nami is not doing. And I don't know when that becomes a possibility. And send assets. Send assets. I'm going to go back over here. Lock assets. Send assets. Bracket. To where? To this address with this value. Yeah. And then comma. Array of value we're sending. And that's exactly what we have. It's just that this bit right here, right? After where these assets are going, we have this list, and that's exactly what asset contract is right here. It's a list of assets defined above. So our syntax is good. Maybe my arithmetic is wrong here. Tokens back. Well, no, but that I would check if my arithmetic was wrong if it didn't work in eternal, but it worked. Jonty, what do you think?
No, I think it's so. I think it's more like that access token which goes back and forth. So access token to sender and access token, but it doesn't matter because yes, the sender sends that token to themselves.
Right.
Yeah, so it will be the same way you'll do in the wallet by yourself again. Like you don't need to specify that you're actually taking it from your own wallet. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Now, here's another thing just to try. I don't know if it'll make a difference, but I can throw into the transaction here. Let's just send some extra Lovelace. As a string. Let's just send 5 more Lovelace along and see if that changes how things work out in some way. TXO balance insufficient. Okay, well, now, I mean, at this point, I wanna know, I really kind of want to look at the error in mesh itself. Huh, well, I don't know, everybody. I'm hoping. I don't know. Yeah, this is, if anybody has time to dig into this, I would love to know what people find out. And I never want to default to blaming other tools, but I mean, this is this a NAMI issue or is it an issue on our end? That's what I want to figure out. And I wish there was an efficient answer to why Nelson works the first time.
So James, I will say, I am also getting that error in Eternal after my
Okay.
first successful.
After the first one. All right, so we're overlooking there's something wrong. There's something wrong in this transaction code right here, and I don't know what it is.
But this error occurred recently or no? It was before, I mean, before everything is fine, now there is a problem.
For me, it's been a while. I experienced it right when we kind of first started the faucet course or module, sorry.
Okay.
And it
But
was Curtis precisely that error, UTXO balance insufficient. It wasn't something else.
Yeah, I'm still getting it like in both my NAMI and Eternal wallet right now. Yeah, I'm getting it in both wallets now, but I will say NAMI's when I first noticed it. Then I went to Eternal, it worked. I was like, okay, so it's a NAMI issue. I kept exploring it. Then I tried it again with my Eternal and got the same error message on Eternal. I tried different tokens. I added my own faucet, and had the same issue there. But what's weird is it seems like even when we're getting the error message, so you're getting the error message right now, somebody new could go in and pull from that faucet, which just, that throws me off.
By the way, James, this error seems to be the same. I forgot, but this error seems to be the same error that I had with the partial burning of the tokens. I'm not.
Ah, that's interesting. Okay.
Maybe I have to recreate that error and check.
Is there, could it be that there's just some bad arithmetic somewhere? Like assets to contract, tokens back to faucet. And like to contract right here. No, that's what it's supposed to be. That's accurate. Access token is 1. 2 sender. Wow. All right. I have a hard stop in a minute. And I'm very unsatisfied right now. Sorry. I'm sorry that this problem is here and has been lurking below the surface for so long. That's we could do better than that. Okay, so something to think about. I want to come back to this and figure it out, which also feels frustrating because there's so many more exciting things to think about and talk about, but we'll get to those. Tomorrow, there's a fellow who DM'd me with a project that he wants to do. And I told him, hey, come present it at live coding and let's see what happens. And so we have a chance to think with somebody else a little bit more like a playground session about what they're trying to build. And then, you know, either decide collectively if we want to take something on and maybe test out a GBTE instance to take on a project like this. Or of course, it's always an option if any of you are really inspired by the idea that's presented tomorrow, you can feel free just to jump aboard and tell the guy, yeah, I'll work on that with you. So a little bit unique tomorrow, but I think it's an important experiment for us to do, to think about how we can invite other folks who have an idea, but not a means to build it, to come to these sessions and see what we can do together. So I'm looking forward to that. Long list of stuff I was hoping to go through today, but that we'll save that for another time. Lots of excitement ahead. And sorry to have to jump so fast, guys. I'll try to jump into the garage later.
Thank you.
Does anybody want to be, if anybody wants to stick around, I'm happy to make you the owner of this meeting. Any interest?
I also have to jump off.
I have to hop as well, James.
All right, cool. See y'all soon tomorrow latest.
See you.
Take care.
Cheers.
Take care.